Hello, welcome to our channel Farkas World History. In this video we will discuss about the history of Japan. The first human habitation in the Japanese archipelago has been traced to prehistoric time around 3000 BC. The Jomon period, named after its cord mark pottery, was followed by the Yoi people in the first millennium BC when new inventions were introduced from Asia. Around the 4th century BC, the Yoi people from the Korean peninsula immigrated to the Japanese archipelago and introduced the iron technology and the agriculture civilization. Because they had an agriculture civilization, the people of the Yoi began to grow rapidly and replaced the Jomon people, a native of the Japanese archipelago who were hunter-gatherers. Most modern Japanese have primarily Yoi ancestry. So between the 4th century and the 9th century, Japan's many kingdoms and the tribes gradually came to be unified under a centralized government, which is normally controlled by the Emperor of Japan. The imperial dynasty establishes at this time continues to this day, although in a completely formal role. In 794, a new imperial capital was established at the Heian Kyoto, marking the beginning of the Heian period, which lasted until 1185. The Heian period is considered a golden age of classical Japanese culture. Japanese religious life from this time and onward was a mix of native Shinto practices and Buddhism. Over the following centuries, the power of the imperial house decreases, passing first to the great clans of the civilian aristocrats, most notably the Fujiwara, and then to the military of the clans and their armies of the samurai. After that, Japan faces a lot of wars and a lot of change of dynasties changes from one family to another. Then the time comes when the Portugal and Japan started their first affiliation in 1543, when the Portuguese became the first Europeans to reach Japan by landing in the southern archipelago. They had a significant impact on the Japans even in this initial limited interaction. They introduced firearms to the Japanese warfare. Then the American Perry expeditions in 1853 more completely ended the Japan's seclusion, which is contributed to the fall of the shogunate and the return of the power to the emperor during the Bushin War in 1868. The new national leadership of the following Meiji period transformed the isolated feudal island country into an empire that closely followed the Western models and became a great power. Although democracy developed and modern civilian culture prospered during the Taisho periods, Japan's powerful military had a great autonomy and overruled Japan's civilian leader in the 1920s and 1930s. The Japanese military invaded Manchuria in 1931, and from 1937 the conflict escalated into a prolonged war with China. Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941 led to the war with the United States and its allies. Japan's forces soon became overextended, but the military held out in spite of the Allied air attacks that inflicted severe damage on the population centers. Then the Emperor Hirohito announces the Japan's surrender on 15 August 1945, following the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the Soviet invasion of the Manchuria. The Allies occupied Japan until 1952, during which a new constitution was enacted in 1947 that transformed Japan into a constitutional monarchy. After 1955, Japan enjoyed a very high economic growth under the governance of the Liberal Democratic Party and became the world economic powerhouse. Since the last decade of the 1990s, economic growth has slowed. On the 11th of March 2011, Japan suffered from a magnitude 9.0 earthquake, one of the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded. If you are a history lover, please like our video, subscribe our channel and click on the bell icon so it will help when we upload a new video. You will get a notification.